Welcome to this part of the webinar. We're going to be talking today and now about the sales call in 4 steps. My name is Joaquin Souchiron. I am an entrepreneur and now busy as accredited coach in Bebecon, Baden-Württemberg Connected, helping startups to found their ventures with success. I'm also an MBA and the IESE Business School in Barcelona, and hopefully I can give you some hints, some light in this sales problematic with the part of the webinar called Sales Call in 4 Steps. Why 4 steps? Why not 6? Why not 8? Well, you can make as many as you want. I just found out, own experience, 4 steps, following the logic of the pull approach, as you will see in a minute. 4 steps well understood, and if you would understand the philosophy underlying these 4 steps, I think it's a quite powerful tool. I should also say, as a disclaimer, I'm very happy that I'm giving you this webinar to you guys, because it's you, after all, that need to do the sales, not me. I'm just telling you what to do, and then you do whatever you want, because it's easy to say what I'm going to tell you today, very easy to say, not so easy to do, not so easy to do. In fact, it's quite difficult to implement. Okay, sales is very, very hard, and we're in the moment of your startup, of your venture, where you have come up with an idea, business model, you have iterated your business model canvas a few times, everything on paper is fantastic. You got your financing from your investors, you got a grant from the government, and now you need to start doing things and selling things, okay? Please bear in mind that the financing of your company ultimately needs to be financed through your customers, not through investors, not through prices, not through any other type of help that you might get from financing here and there, okay? So the investors are the ones financing your company. That should be very, very clear. For that, you need to sell. The ultimate goal of a salesman, you need to sell, the ultimate goal of a salesman is to ask for the order in order to get the sales. Ask for the order means approaching the customer, the prospect, and telling him, okay, after all this process of blah, blah, blahing with you, and I identify your problem, and here's my solution, handshake, do you want to move ahead or not? Here's the contract, please sign, do you want to place a purchase order? Okay, this is the goal of the salesman, to ask for the order. And this is not so easy sometimes, because you build up a relationship with the prospect customer, kind of call it a friendship if you want. I wouldn't call it friendship, but for the sake of the understanding, call it a friendship. And there is a moment where you need to stop the chat and go for the next action point, which is, would you please sign here? And it's the task of the salesman to ask for the order. For many, out of their comfort zone, out of our comfort zone, needs to be done. Okay? If you have the feeling you cannot do it, you better find somebody in your team that does it. Being a salesman is not as easy as it might sound, okay? All right, so how do we get to this point that we can actually ask for the order? We need to do a few things beforehand. And as a general comment, I would give you 2 pieces of advice here. And this should impregnate my whole webinar today. The first thing is that you should be thinking of the 80-20 rule, being 80% the time you devote to listen, and 20% the time you devote to talk, all right? We love our product. We want to tell everybody about our product. We love to talk about ourselves. Well, that's not the moment, you know. If you want to do that in some other setting, fine. In a bar with some friends, fine, you can talk. If you want to sell, you better listen, buddy, 80% of your time, okay? So one thing, listen 80%, talk 20%. And the other thing I want to tell you is think of a pull strategy in your sales as opposite of a push, okay? It's not that we have a solution and we're going to push it to the market. No. Is it rather the other way around? I think it's the other way around, rather, where we have a problem, we have an inconvenience in the market, and only in the moment where we find that there is a hole in the market, we can actually cover that hole with our solution, okay? But first we need to expect that there is a call from the market, and then and only then cover it with our solution, okay? So listen, do not talk, and think of pull as opposite of push. The structure of the 4 steps, you can see it now in your slide in your computer. It will be basically 4 steps. The first one will be the preliminaries. This is when we talk to the guy, we do the funny chat, small talk. The next step would be investigating or trying to find out more about the customer. What are his needs, the problem that he's facing, and where is it that he actually needs some sort of help and some sort of advice, okay? The third point would be showing our capabilities, demonstrating our product, okay? what can this product do in order to solve the problems that the customer has. And the last point is a call for action, basically. Maybe ask for the order or set up a next meeting, because we cannot expect always to close the deal in the first time we meet the person or the first time we talk on the phone with this person. Okay. Remember, we're thinking of a pull instead of a push. What we want to do now is to make the following exercise. We want to do sales, okay? And see the graph in front of your computer now. You will see the 4 points. And I prepared 2 columns, what you want and what you need, and the activity that actually is in action in that particular moment in time, okay? Let's start from the end, from the pull. What happens? We want to sell, okay? We want to sell something. In order to sell, you will see in that graph, what we need to do to get the sale. We need to ask for the order. We need to do the last handshake so the customer signs on our purchase order, okay? In order to be able to ask our customer, our prospect, for the order, we need to do something before. We need to gain the right to ask for the order. Surprise. In other words, you do not ask for the order until the customer doesn't tell you it is okay now that you can now actually ask me for the order. Okay? How do we get that? Well, in order to get that right, we need to be able to have solved the customer's problem. We need to solve the customer's problem. So easy as that. Okay, and only when the customer has seen that we have solved his problem, we can ask for the order or gain the right to ask for the order. Okay, how do we get to the point where we have solved the customer problem? Well, before that, we need to gain the right to explain our solution, because the customer will only know that his problem is solved when we have explained our solution. But believe me, no talk about your solution before the customer asks for it. Okay. And once we have gained the right to explain for your solution, you should be thinking, okay, what makes me gain the right to explain my solution? What triggers that? In which moment did I get that right? Well, in the moment that you actually know the problem so in depth that you are in a position to actually start thinking about your solution. You never think of your solution before you acknowledge the problem, okay? How do I get to know the problem then? Go back. What needs to happen before that I know the problem? Well, you need to gain the right from the customer to explore, to dig, to ask about his problem, okay? And how do you get that? Well, we'll see. I mean, you need to break the ice and ask, can I actually, let me put it the other way around now, from the bottom to the top. You break the ice, do the small chat, can I actually be a bit more demanding? Can I be a bit more demanding in the information that I need? Yes, no. If he says yes, go ahead. If he says no, forget about it, okay? Once he tells you information, you will be able to know about the problem of the customer. Once you know about the customer problem, and only then, you ask him, can we move to the next step? Can I actually, I think I have a solution to your problem. Is that okay if I tell you about it? If he says yes, go ahead. If not, you don't go ahead, etc., etc., etc. We're going to see now the steps a bit more in detail, okay? The preliminaries, okay? The small chat, first step, the small chat is where you meet the first time. It's quite a crucial thing. Do not underestimate the fact of building up a relationship with that person, okay? A relationship doesn't mean you don't need to be friends, but nothing speaks against talking like human beings, knowing a bit about each other. Don't get too deep in that, in the personal thing. In some cultures that would mean not so welcome, like the German culture. You wouldn't expect too much of that, but a bit of that indeed. We're humans. Try to build relationship, trust, credibility. Basic research on the company beforehand wouldn't hurt. Okay, what triggers this person you're talking to? Send him an agenda before, so he can expect. He's already framed on what to expect from this phone call. Introduce yourself. Explain how you got in touch with this company, and just do a bit of chit chat here and small chat. Okay, that's not, nothing speaks against some small chat. Devote 1 minute to that. The guy will probably tell you, well, I don't have so much time. Please, can we, what do you want? Okay, say, well, try to find out some of his business basics and see where you can dig. Once you can see where you can dig a bit deeper in the needs of his business, you ask the guy, look, is this okay? Something like, this is okay if we discuss this topic a bit more in depth, okay? If this person says yes, well, congratulations, then you are in the second phase, investigate, and then you start to ask a bit more deep questions about this particular topic that is relevant to you, and of course, a problem to him. when you're investigating about this problem, okay, try to find out, try to dig on the problem, okay? But of course, don't say, wait, what is your problem? You know, he will tell you, no, what is yours? You call me, okay? So no. You need to know about his problem without being too invasive. Try to use very open questions opening questions like what if analysis, you know, what would you do if this happens, you know, what do you think if this happens, and where do you see this happening, etc. So they give him time and prone him to actually explain with words what he actually, where his problems might be, okay? Try to address that a bit, but don't be too pushy, let him talk. This is the time where he talks, okay? At this point in time, most salesmen want to jump immediately to their solution, you know, because I love my product, I love me, I want to talk about my product, and I want to talk about me. Well, believe me, your product is the most, as charming as it is, and as much as you love it, but your product is the most boring thing in this planet, in the surface of the whole earth, okay? It's so boring that if you start talking about your product, very likely the guy will be so bored that he will actually hang up or not want to listen to you anymore. Now, here's the little thing. I told you about the pull versus push. If you get to the point, okay, that after you already know enough about his problem, the customer's problem, where he has need, and you actually get the customer to invite you to talk about your product, well, your boring product is not so boring anymore. It might be a fantastic thing, but only if you are asked to speak about your product. In other words, if you deserve the right to do so. In other words, do not move to phase number 3, which is telling about your product, before the customer has pulled for it. The customer has asked for it, okay? You should develop a feeling when you can move to this asking for moving to the next step. When you think you have rephrased enough times his problem, you make sure you understood what he meant. And maybe if you have a feeling that you have something to offer, ask him something like, is this okay if I tell you what I think I could do for you? And only move to the next step if the answer is yes. Otherwise, you better stop the phone call there, because it's not going to take you anywhere. Waste of time for you, for him. Once you get an okay to move to the next one, your previously boring product is not boring anymore. Might be a very, very compelling and successful story now to tell, okay? When you talk about your product, you're already in the third phase, talking about the capabilities and solutions that you offer. Do not think so much of your features, because there's not an immediate link between features and benefits to the customer, okay? The features that you see, the fantastic features in your product, might not be a real benefit to the customer. So try to decouple those, okay? And do not get too cocky on the features, but focus more on the benefits of the customer. Those benefits should be the abstraction of point number 2, where you were digging the problem of the customer. And this is where you can actually tackle these problems that you identify with your solutions, okay? Again, but don't think of features, think of solutions to needs that the customer has, okay? All right. Do not assume that a prospect will always link, as I said, these features to benefits. Do not assume that, all right? Your logic might not be your counterpart's logic. And at this point, you should be ready for you should have answers to 2 questions, okay? And those questions are, so what? And who cares? You make sure you have answers to the question. I will leave it to you, because these questions come. You talk about your product, and then you get a so what question. You keep on talking, and then you get a so who cares? You better make sure you answer those 2. Okay, I leave it to you. Once you have gone through the customer's objections and explained your solution, and you think you're ready to move to the next step, which is close the deal, or move to a next meeting in X number of days or months, ask again for the right to move to the next step. Make sure he understood your solution as much as you understood his problem, okay, before. Once you understand that he understands and he understands that you understand, ask him, is that okay if we move to the next step? Is there anything that we can do commercially together? If he says no, then, well, tough luck. If he says, well, maybe, if you get a hint of a yes, try to explore whether you move to the next step, 4th step, which is call for action, next steps, maybe ask for the order, okay? At this point, again, only move to this point if you have got a pull from the customer to drive you to that point, okay? And only move if you get a yes, okay? Try to, when you find the agreement, try to also rephrase the agreement together with him. because you need to agree to some terms, delivery terms, maybe some timing, some pre-series prototypes that you want to deliver, whatever that is. Have an agreement with him. It's still not a monologue, it's a dialogue, okay? Every single point here is a dialogue. Let him talk as well, etc. And then ask for the order. Okay, why don't we go ahead with this proposal? Is that okay? You know, just ask for it. Don't be afraid. It's your task, after all. You're a salesman. You need to do that. Okay? Not easy. I know that. I never said it was easy. Sales in 4 steps. Think of pull. Don't think of push. And good luck in your endeavors. Thank you.